Welcome back to Elite Conversations, where we learn about the strategies and journey of high-level business owners. Today's guest is Tim Yslava, founder of Arcade Automated Trading, a platform which automates your crypto and forex trading. And yeah, it's great to have you on the show, Tim.
Thanks, man. I'm super stoked we were able to meet at FHL. Every single time I've spoken to you so far, you've been absolutely amazing, and I'm super happy to be on your show.
Thank you, man. I met this guy funnel hacking live in Las Vegas, and I just knew this guy has to get his story out. So, Tim, how'd you get your start in entrepreneurship?
Yeah, for sure. It's a good question. So I was fortunate enough to. There's multiple stages, right? As a kid, I grew up in a really rough environment, and I've seen my family sort of go from absolutely nothing to what they are today, which is successful business owners, right? So growing up, I saw my family struggle with addiction. Cops were at my house, basically every week. People getting their skulls beaten in, and just really rough times, right? Like I used your eyes are saying the whole thing. It was
Holy
crazy.
shit! Wait,
Yep.
people were beating skulls where you're
Oh
from?
yeah, absolutely. I've seen my dad like basically. I'm not sure how much we can get into it here, but it really rough things. So
Anything you want to get into, like that's your call. So nothing's off limits.
so for right now, I'm gonna keep it high level, and then if you have
Okay.
specific questions, we'll dive deeper, right?
Cool.
So, because I want to make sure I provide as much value to your audience as possible, and like they probably are interested in like that craziness. But how I got my start was, I saw this transition and sort of what success does for people, right? Because in spite of all the craziness that was going on in my house, and what my parents had to go through, with my siblings, my dad was able to build a multi-seven-figure business in plumbing, right, and facilities maintenance. And with that success came unity and happiness and joy. And I basically saw what capitalism would do for someone, if you learn and you do things the right way, right? And so with that, I started my own business flipping real estate when I was like 19. I started investing money.
Start that?
I wanted to be rich. Yeah, I wanted to make money, and I think, honestly, what it really comes down to is I want to be able to provide for a family, right? Like I want to be able to create a place, in my life where I could support people, right, and help people, and the people I love, right? And so that's really what it boiled down to. And so after the real estate thing, I started managing.
One sec.
Okay.
One sec.
Yeah.
What made you choose real estate as the first business opportunity to go into?
Yeah, so you see, like, there's like statistics where, like, like the most millionaires ever, right, across all different industries come from real estate, right? And so, like, that was the thing that started me in my entrepreneurial journey because number one, what I was doing, I was flipping houses, right? You probably have seen this on YouTube, right? Like, you can go and search on YouTube and like wholesaling, right? Houses, and so I learned from like Jerry Norton, and there's a few other people who I learned from, and it took me zero money to get into, and so like that's how I just started sourcing deals for people, and that's how I got my start.
Boom. So how did you were in real estate, and then what was the next thing that happened? And can you explain how you chose trading and software ultimately?
Yeah. So when this happened, right, I was still before this I had some internships in private equity, right? I really was not a good high school student, but I did well enough to get into a four-year university in the Bay Area, and I met my mentor. His name is Emmanuel Plates. He ran for the mayor of LA. He worked in the Treasury of the United States, worked at Goldman Sachs, worked at McKinsey, like some really, really like basically top of the line places. And so I met the first networking event I ever went to. I met him, and I was like, I don't know what I have to do, but I need to get in contact with this guy, right? I need to do work for him. He is doing what I want to do. And so I met him, and he convinced me very quickly, did not take much work, to drop out and go work for him, right? In his private equity, basically he had he was emerging fund manager, right? So I worked for him in private equity for, about, 6 months to a year. And while doing that, he told me, hey, you cannot go. I was going to SF State at the time. He said, you will not get into private equity or like investment banking going to this school. You need to get into UC Berkeley or like an Ivy League school. And so I dropped out, re-enrolled in a community college. And while I was there, that's when the whole real estate thing was happening. And I eventually I did get into UC Berkeley, but that's a whole other story. And so in that time when I was doing real estate, I also had an idea for like an AI, like artificial intelligence company. And so I started talking to a bunch of different venture capitalists, and they put me in touch with a CEO called, his name is Alan Jones, who just so happened to go to the same community college as me. He was the CMO of ZipRecruiter, and he was starting, he had a startup that was ranked #1 by Forbes as like the best startup to work for in LA. And I didn't know it at the time, but like that was one of the people who would go on to change my life, right? So after the real estate thing, I was doing, didn't stop doing the real estate. I was doing like 3 things at once, but working with it was called Bambi. The company was called Bambi. I was a product manager, right? Managing like 40 and 50-year-old software engineers as like a 19 or 20-year-old. And that's how I got my start in tech. I had the background in real estate and finance. And then, again, to kind of cut a long story short, I combined those 2 things and started my business, right? If we want to go into the specifics about how I started my business, beyond, again, I kind of covered a lot of ground there. I'm happy to go into detail if you'd like.
Yeah, could you say the story of what made you choose automated trading as a opportunity to pursue?
Yeah. So during that sort of there was a point in time where I was doing 3 things at once. Okay, so I was 19, 20, managing that. Look at that! I love modern technology. Those thumbs up things.
So good.
So I was 19. I was managing my real estate business. I was managing 40 and 50-year-old senior software engineers and just getting my, ass kicked. And then also happened to be managing my entire family's retirement account, right? And so I remember like one day just being so incredibly stressed that, and this is like during COVID-19, right? Like this is all like happening all at the same time. I remember being so incredibly stressed that I like broke down in the restroom at like the tech company's like corporate office that I was just crying, like just freaked out. And that had never happened to me before in my life. And so I knew something had to change, right? And so I basically quit everything and taught myself how to code, right? Because I was managing 19, 20 years old, managing software engineers, not even knowing how to code, right? It's hard. Okay, it's a hard thing to do. Yeah, a guy half their age who doesn't know what the fuck is going on, telling him what to do. Yeah, good luck, right?
They must have loved that. Yeah,
I know. It was rough. It was rough. So,
right.
Anyways, I stopped everything. I taught myself how to code, and the first thing I automated, or the first thing that I built, was my own investment strategy, but I automated it, right? And again, this was like during like that V-shaped recovery in COVID-19. And so like my automated strategy, right, made me and my family $1 million, right? And so subsequently, they were able to buy my grandparents, because my grandparents were living in Northern California, having health issues. They bought them a house in all cash, down closer to us, and was really able to help them. And so, anyways, like that was some of the immediate sort of success that I had with trading and algos. But the reason why I decided to pursue it as a business model, right, was because no one else was doing it, right? Like I had looked online, right, like if I faced this issue, if I was like a corporate guy, right, working my ass off, I don't have the time to trade, right? Like I don't have the time to like sit at a computer, click these buttons, or even on my phone, right? Like I'm working. And so how can I be trading and working at the same time? And so I said, if no one else is doing it, I have to like offer this to the marketplace, right? And so that's how I got into like my current business model.
So what does your software look like from a user's perspective?
I could show you if you want.
Yeah, go for it.
Hey, can I share my screen?
Yep. At the bottom, there's a share button.
Yeah. Okay. I'll share my screen and I'll show you an example. And by the way, this is going to be old news here shortly. If you want, I'll show you what I'm working on.
Yeah, go for it.
In the future. Okay. So anyways, this is one of my clients right here. He's a social media influencer who
Could you zoom in the screen? Could you zoom in the screen a bit?
Let's see if I can. This is on Discord, so I'm not sure how much. I'm not sure if I can zoom in, unfortunately.
Okay. No worries.
But yeah, so I'll tell you conceptually what's going on. So this guy has like 100,000, followers, subscribers on social media, famous, right, or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And so basically, on the back end, right, and if your audience, is techie, they will know what this is. If not, then they will not. But I'll do my best to explain. So there's two parts to a tech product. There's like the back end and the front end. The front end is what you see here. Okay, the front end is like what you interact with, right? Whether it be your phone, it's going to be like the actual screen and like kind of what, like this is the front end right here, right?
Right.
But the back end is like the what you do not see that is helping everything you do see work, okay? And so on the back end, there is a bot, right, with his trading strategy that automates the fulfillment and the execution of trading orders, okay? So, and then he allows people, or he has people use his bot, right? So there's about 19 people right now. He has not begun to promote this. If you can, hopefully you can. I probably shouldn't be showing this. If you could blur out the names, that would be helpful.
Okay.
But anyways, so yeah, especially if these people, like this you could show, but these people, maybe if you could blur them out. So anyways,
Okay.
these people all subscribe. And let me pull up the and this is what it looks like if he wants to go and get this is how much they're investing, right? Mm-hmm. So like you run a / command in Discord, you get this. That's how much they're investing, and then if I were to go and see how much money they've made, right, it would get this here, and then I would go P&L stats, and I want to do how much they made all the time. And they started, I think, like at the beginning of the month, right? So they made $4,000, and the win rate is about 80%, right? Now, because some of these people,
what's the win rate?
Win rate is a calculation between how many trades you have made money on divided by total trades you've taken.
Oh,
so wow. It's like so they're making money 80% of the time, right? And I think this is not factoring in I think some of these people withdrew a few $1,000s. So this total realized P&L is might be a little skewed. Because of what they made in the strategy, it probably is significantly higher than this. But they withdrew some of their earnings. But yeah, so that's what it looks like from a user's perspective. All they would need to do to subscribe to the strategy is go here and then add a user, add their API and their secret key, and they're subscribed to that guy's bot. So that's basically it.
Okay. So from a customer's perspective, if there was somebody working a job and they wanted to become a part of that, what would those steps look like?
So on the agency side of things, I'm very particular with who I work with. People need to make over $200,000 a year. I'm probably going to raise that up to people who make over $1 million a year. This is on the agency side of things. There's a whole other side of things that I will be happy to go into in a little bit, which we're super, super excited about. Okay. But yeah, so if they make over, hundreds of thousands of dollars a year, $200,000 right now, and they also have a trading strategy, then they could hire my company. If they also are a cultural fit, right? I need to be able to talk to you. If we cannot work together, if you think I'm an asshole or I think you're an asshole, it's not going to work out, right? So as long as we get along well, and you make a decent amount of money and have a trading strategy, then basically we would work together to put together a project plan, and then my team of engineers would build it for you, right? And then before you know it, in 2 or 3 weeks, you would have something that looks like this, right? So yeah, that's basically it. And then, but I guess I'll show you one other thing. Well, I guess I'll tell you about it because admittedly, my webpage is it's not confidential. We're hopefully tell the whole world about it soon and here enough. So right now, it takes 2 to 3 weeks to build that bot. Or if you were to hire a guy from a quant company, like 2 Sigma, or I don't know, Point 72 or whatever, or Citadel, right? These guys who go to Ivy League schools and get paid $1 million plus a year, right? To write these programs. You would either need to hire them or hire someone like my company to build you out these custom these bots, right? But right now we're working to launch, so ChatGPT, right? So we have that as like the back end, and people will be able to type like in natural language, right? Like just text, right? And then it will automatically like build and launch the bot for them in like a few seconds, right? That will be coming out. I feel very strongly that it will like change the game. All go trading. My goal is to like partner up with like brokers and stuff like that to like get it out to like a huge audience. But that's what we're working on. It should be out in 2 or 3 weeks. And then when that's done, I'll between you and me, I'll give you a demo if you're interested. I'm not sure if you're. It's still a very niche, right? Very niche thing, but it opens up the door to, instead of me charging like $100,000 for what I just showed you, like that custom software, the price is just brought like way down, right? And anyone can use it, right? So it's super sick. So that's what we're excited about on like on the more mainstream side of things.
That'll take a lot of weight off of your engineering team's back, since you do the work up front, build the bot, and then it just does all the things they would do.
Correct. Yeah. So, and literally like a human, like if you want to build a bot, you could just go and text on something that's very similar to ChatGPT, right? You text like, hey, build me a crypto bot that trades Ethereum USD on Binance on the 1 minute, chart, right? Tell it everything you want, and it will give you the script, put it in the cloud, and then have that bot run 24/7 for you, almost like an employee, right? You would have to pay someone like $1 million a year, right, to do something that is now taking a few seconds, right? Which is, as someone who faced the problem before and had to teach myself how to code and like spent the last 3 years of my life like going through this and working with people who have this exact issue, it is literally insane. It's like blows my mind to even think that it's something that I'm doing, So, anyways, yeah.
It's like magic, Tim. And
it's like magic.
That's like the way the future's headed, where there's so many of these jobs that used to be super specialized. People thought, like, just in 2021, software engineer was the most popular position to go into, where if you go in that, then you'll never be out of a job. So, what do you think, new people entering the workforce, or do you think it makes sense for people to learn how to code nowadays?
I feel like that's like I think it's good to understand how computers work. I think there's like some core learnings that you could have in terms of just like pure logic that like irrespective of what you do with that logic, like these frameworks of thinking, right, will help you in whatever way, right? Like in whatever sort of medium you choose, right? Like no matter what you do, right, whether it be software engineering or whatever, if you understand how computers work, I feel like you will be better off than if you do not. Now, like talking with my engineers and the guy who is building like the GPT, right, the large language model for the algo trading. This is my first like. I've used ChatGPT before, obviously as like a person that's trying to write, like my copy, right? My ad copy, or there's like if I want to write like a letter or like a blog post, or have it scan through some data, right? Like I've used it and like that's super helpful. But talking to my engineer and seeing that it could just eliminate a job that would otherwise be paid $1 million per year, and then like that sparking ideas like of like totally like, man, like you could have a GPT bot that like you tell it what website you want and like it just builds. So like ClickFunnels, right? Like the company ClickFunnels, like eliminated, right? Like just I could literally text, right? Or speak. I could speak to my phone because there's a speech feature, right? Like a speech to text feature. I could speak to my phone and have it build me an exact website like that is in my head and like in seconds, right? Like I do not have to like have a mouse, right? The way we interact with like the internet as a whole, I believe, soon enough will be completely and totally different because of like AI and ChatGPT and companies like it, right? Like DeepSeek or whatever. So your question was, do you think it's helpful for people to learn how to code? I believe, because really what coding is translating logic from your brain to the computer.
True.
I believe like logic, always good, right?
Right.
Look at that fireworks, baby.
I love this
Yeah,
software.
yeah. But and again, I am not an engineer, right? But um, there is a big leap between where you are right now, like starting as a engineer, and like my guy who is programming like large language models, right? Like, and before you know it, when you have guys who are programming these large language models to automate like very complex tasks and eliminate entire jobs, uh, you become irrelevant very quickly, right? And like that learning curve is very steep. Um,
Hmm.
so yeah, I couldn't give you a firm answer, but I know that like if you study, like logic
Hmm.
and that and whatnot, I think you're safe. But I think really what it boils down to for me, right? Like
Hmm.
people. I think people are. If you were to focus on one thing, like communication skills
Hmm.
and getting people to like you and like listen to you, um, and love you. If you can get people to love you, you win, right? Like,
Hmm.
yeah.
What's the
If you
biggest
can get,
mistake you? Oh,
yeah,
sorry if I cut you off. What's
you hit
the
it.
what's the biggest mistake you see people making in terms of communication or getting people to like them or getting people to love them?
Damn. I wish I was good enough to give you an answer. You know what I mean? I'm still
Yeah,
figuring it out myself. I'm still figuring it out
fair.
myself. But that's like something I know we spoke about it a little bit at FHL, right?
Hmm.
And it's something that like I think is a very interesting. And I know you worked in the space for a while with like Michael Sartain and stuff like that. And
Yeah.
um, yeah, I feel like it's a very interesting space to be in, right? Because I feel like it would be hard and I really don't know, but I feel like it would be hard for a computer to enable us to connect more deeply with someone, right? Like with like person to person. I just feel like that's a very unique thing that humans have, right?
Hmm.
Um, the ability to connect, right? Like, and so I don't know exactly like the mistakes I see in terms of like tactically what people can do to improve, but I
Right.
do know that like I mean, just talking to you, here I am on your podcast, right?
Oh
Um,
yeah.
and 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 what's come of it, who knows, right? But like the fact is that like when you connect with people, so many doors that like you never thought possible open up,
Hmm.
right? And um, yeah, and again, I believe especially when you have multiplied that by like social media, like virality effects and stuff
Hmm.
like that, is huge, right? So
Hmm.
yeah, people,
A lot
people,
of
people
these
is
and that's interesting about the importance of building these relationships. Like you never know what's going to come out of it. A lot of these online entrepreneurs nowadays, they just stay in their room all day and just
yeah,
type the computer. And
right.
some of them make some money off of that, but
Yeah,
then you meet them in real life and they're freaking weirdos and you don't want to talk to them.
yeah.
So,
Well, no, I mean, I will say this that yeah, there are those people. There definitely are, but I would say like the people who make incredible, like truly incredible amounts of money, and I would argue, I would argue 2 points.
yeah.
Like connection, whether it be digital or like when we hung out and we went out to the bar or whatever, right? Like
Yeah,
connection, whether it be online or in person, matters, right? Like it doesn't matter. Like,
definitely.
and you might be like, man, you might be a digital savant and be able to connect with people over like the internet, and like you will make a shit ton of money, right? And you might be a weirdo, right? In person. But the thing is, you did connect with people, right? You did connect with people,
Hmm.
but just virtually, right? Like the medium was slightly different. Um, but again, so I will say this: I know, like, do you know what's going on in Argentina right now with the whole crypto thing?
No, what's going on?
No. Okay, so there's a guy, um, he's 26. He's a year older than me, right?
Hmm.
Um, I turned 26 in a few months actually, so maybe a few months older than me, right?
Mm.
And so he, through connecting with people, right, and networking his way, is somehow launching. He launched Donald Trump's cryptocurrency. He launched like Melania Trump's cryptocurrency, and he also launched the cryptocurrency that the entire Argentinian country, like the country of Argentina, was using, right? And like the president
Damn.
of Argent, and he's 26. How like and like sure he might be very talented, right? But like
Hmm.
I fucking guarantee you, I know people who are smarter than that motherfucker. I guarantee you, what he is able to do by like climbing up and being able to network with these very powerful people, like his net worth, right, did not climb by the skills he has, right? Unless, but like I guess if you were to take out the communication skill and the ability to connect, right, and the ability to get people to trust him, right, he got the most highly influential people, the most powerful people in the world to trust him to launch their cryptocurrency, and now he's a multi-millionaire, if not like 100. Well, actually, I maybe I spoke too soon. The Argentinian coin, it took a absolute dog shit, right? There's like he's probably going to jail, right? He's probably going to jail. Like being federally prosecuted. Yeah, no, it was horrible. There was a whole.
That was a big turn in the story.
Oh,
holy crap!
Yeah. No. But the thing is that like as long as you're like, and so your morals are huge, and your ability to connect with people, whether it be digital or like in person, right, is massive. And like take your skill set that you have, right, like whenever you think about and this goes back. We saw Tony Robbins speak, like brand, right, like. Take whatever skill set you have, and if you have this reputation for being whatever, right, or your ability to communicate your value is like just exponentially better than your competition who has a better product than you, you will crush, right? Like you go and eat McDonald's, right, and maybe not you, right, because you're like a fitness guy, right? You're right, so probably not you, but America and the world chooses McDonald's over like a gourmet Gordon Ramsay burger. Like 10 out of 10 times, right? And it's because the brand of McDonald's is so fucking strong, and they communicate it in a way that just like cuts through all the noise, right? And so, communication, people, super important. I don't know how to implement it in my life. All I know is that like over the next until I die, it's people. For me in my life, right? Like I might have a really cool tech product or whatever but the way for me to get it into people's hands is by communicating and connecting with people, in my opinion. You know what I mean? So,
and that's a great lesson, Tim. That's a great lesson, Tim, about the importance of not just focusing on like coding skills, but also connecting with people. So, something I'm curious about is, first you identified the blue ocean opportunity of nobody has a software that builds these trading strategies, and more recently you saw. All right, now we have the software to build trading strategies, but there's no way you can create them with natural language. You have to hire someone who makes $1 million a year. So how do you go about identifying these blue ocean opportunities where there's just no competition?
So this is a very challenging question. There's number one, this particular thing. Both things kind of. There's two things I want to say.
Okay.
Number one, so typically like a lot of great businesses, like the founder faces the challenge, right? Like so, like for me, I actively had the problem that I solved today for people, right? Like it's almost like if you have a broken arm, and then you fix it on your own with like natural like homeopathic remedies or whatever, you can go and show other people, hey, like I broke my arm just like you, and I fixed it in a totally different way, and like. I actually grew superpowers because of it, right? And like when you're able to tell that story, right? Even though it seems crazy, right? People connect, right? People connect and they're like, yeah, I get it, right? I don't want to cast for 6 months, right? Like I want some alternative where I could still use my arm or whatever, right? So, anyways, that's the first part, right? Like is when you find these blue ocean strategies or like these blue oceans, right? To pursue, typically you are the person that has been hurt or like has faced an issue and you solve it for yourself and then you scale it up and help others. That's number one, right? Number two, Russell Brunson, right? He's the guy who wrote these books and like the owner of ClickFunnels, and he hosted FHL. He said, like when you have like, so God gives ideas. I'm not sure if you're spiritual or like your audience is spiritual, but God gives us ideas, right? And if he sees, right, or when God sees, I don't know the gender of God, I don't know, right?
Yeah,
but I don't want to assume, okay?
Trigger warning, 18 and up.
yeah. So when God gives us these ideas, right, and if he sees that we are a good shepherd of these ideas and we take care of them, right? Like whatever, God gave you the idea to start a podcast, and he sees that you are the kind of person that like listens and you do these things, right? And
Exactly.
you may not know how to scale to, a million streams per episode, right? You may not know how to become Joe Rogan, right? But the thing is that, like, when you pursue and you take care of these ideas that God gives you, right? Like, the way becomes clear, right? As you continue to pursue these ideas, like, things that you may have once thought were, like, unimaginably difficult or unimaginably, like, impossible for you to achieve. Like, as
Yeah.
you continue to pursue the idea, it becomes more clear, right? And so yeah, like those two things. So like number one, typically you face the problem before anyone else and you
Right.
solve it. And number
Hmm.
two, the path forward may seem very difficult, but as long as you pursue it and never quit, like, light begins to shine in the darkest areas, right? So that's those are generalities, but typically how
Hmm.
things work for me in my life.
And I'm glad you brought that up.
Mm,
How
mm.
has religion or spirituality affected your journey as an entrepreneur?
Yeah. Okay. So in general, right? So I took shrooms when I was like, I had never read a book up until the point
Always
where I was
starts with
like,
shrooms.
it always starts with all
Every
good
good
stories
story
do.
starts
Yeah. Yeah.
exactly.
So I had never read a book. Like, so in high school, I was a very bad student, class clown. People liked me more than they do now, but did not get good grades,
Mm.
right? And but so yeah, I was the kind of person I was smoking weed every day, experimenting with drugs. I, like, had snorted some Vicodin once, just popping pills, doing all these things, going down a very similar path to my family,
Mm.
and so I went up to the mountains one time and I was, like, listening to, like, Terrence McKenna and, like, Alan Watts on YouTube, and, like, they were talking
Mm.
about, like, shrooms and, like, the shamanistic experience and blah blah. And so I went up to Big Sur and I did shrooms, but alone, right? I had my little Honda Civic. I was driving through, like, the wilderness in, like, a 2008 Honda Civic, and
Mm.
yeah, and I had a little tent there and ate some shrooms. A few minutes later, I was sitting and overlooking the sunset, right, on this cliff, right? So I was high, sitting on a
Of
cliff,
course.
right, that, like, was precipitously fell, right?
Hmm.
But in that moment, I understood, like, my purpose in life, right? And yeah, it,
Then and
like,
there.
I then and there, yeah, 100%.
Damn.
And I think it's very cliche, but it's very powerful. Not a joke. I felt like I met God, or, like, was one with God, and so
Hmm.
spirituality, right? To your question is, like, spirituality is key. Like, my
Hmm.
connection with God is core. Like, without God, none of this is possible. Um,
Right.
yeah, yeah, we would not be talking if it wasn't for God. I probably would still be a jackass who was, like, smoking weed every day and, like, blah
Mm.
blah. And I'm still a jackass, but not that kind of jackass. So, yeah, that's basically it. And yeah, I'd never read a book up until that point, but if I were to show you, like, my library, I've at one point in time I was reading, like, 50 books a year. Like, I was, like,
Damn.
almost crazy. Yeah, I was, like, tearing the cup. But these are my favorite right here. These
Mm.
guys. Okay,
It
so
sounds
Intelligent
like.
Investor. Yeah. Good.
Oh, sorry if I cut you off. It sounds like that was a big turning point, and I'm curious, what was your mindset and behavior like before, and then
Mm.
what was your mindset and behavior like after?
Will this be edited down?
Probably not.
Probably not. Okay, so I was going to show
Yeah.
you a picture. Can I show
Okay.
you? Do you mind if I show you a picture?
Go for it. Yeah, go for it.
Okay. Okay. There's going to be some dead air, which I hope you don't mind. But I feel like if I could find this picture, it might be interesting enough to make up
Oh,
for it.
I'll
All right. What was that
Cool.
picture?
Okay. So yeah, yeah. So I found it. Let's go ahead and I'm going to share my screen right now. Hopefully you don't see anything fucking weird because I have to go over to, like, another tab.
Your OnlyFans
Right here.
account?
Yeah, you might see my OnlyFans account. So yeah, right here. So this was, like, in July. This picture on the left was, like, July 2017, right?
Hmm.
And again, like, right here, you can't tell, but I'm, like,
That's
I'm
you?
lit up. That's me. I'm absolutely lit up in July. Like, this is July 4th, 2017. And then, like, 6 months later, I was an intern for, like, the mayor of San Francisco. And then
Damn.
somewhere in between here, I took shrooms, right? Like, and so yeah, I was getting lit up, like, every day, right? And, like, just, being a terror to society. And then shortly after the mayor of San Francisco, it was, like, the scholar program, but I got flown out to Detroit for, like, the Forbes 30 Under 30 summit,
Damn.
which is cool, right? So yeah, and, like, so yeah, shrooms. This is not me advocating for shrooms. Don't take shrooms if you if you don't take shrooms. What you will learn is that you are in control of your life, right? Like you are not just some like innocent bystander like letting life happen to you. This is by no means do I encourage you to take shrooms. Like just the lesson that needs to be learned is like you have control over your destiny, and what you do with your time dictates your outcomes. So but that's the picture I wanted to show you. I think there might be this is another one right here where I was like lit up. So anyways, that's basically it.
Interesting.
Cool. Hopefully that was helpful.
Yeah, interesting. It sounds like it was like I said, a big turning point. And in your business and your life, Tim, what's next? What's the next dragon you want to slay in 2025?
Yeah, I think the AI, the AI. I said like an Australian right there. Do you catch that? The AI. Yeah. The AI that automates or that makes all other algo trading approaches obsolete, right? Like I want to take that tech and then integrate it into every broker, so that if you're on Robinhood, right, and you want to launch an algo trading bot, you could just text it and then it does it for you, right? Or like on Charles Schwab or on you name it, right? Like that is my goal, right? Again, and I'll be honest with you, right? In terms of like, I'm scared, right? Like there are certain ideas where like going back to what I was talking about earlier, right? It's like God gives you these ideas, and if you take care of them and you pursue them, He like number one will make the way clear, but also give you bigger ideas to kind of like play around with and explore, right? And take care of and bigger challenges, And so and this is an idea that Russell Brunson brought up. He started off with the potato gun, and then now he has ClickFunnels, right? And he worked to like all these different like layers to get there, right? So for me, there's this big, juicy, fat, opportunity, and just executing that will be what I focus on here in 2025, and really, I guess, for the rest of my life until the job is done, right? So that's basically it.
Yeah, as you slay one dragon, you find out about the next one, and the more action you take and the faster you fail, it's like the universe just comes to help you out. And something you pointed out was your favorite books behind you. So I'm curious, how has the role of self-education or books or mentors contributed to your journey?
It's hard to talk about the importance. I think without these books right here, without some of the people I've worked, like the CEO of the tech company I worked at, without someone like my current guy who's helping me with marketing was like the VP, like the head of marketing at the last start. Like there's so many people without again, going back to like what I was talking about, people, right? Like without people, I would be nothing, right? Like 100%. Like I am nothing without my fellow man. I cannot say that enough, if that makes sense, right? Like God and other people have helped me get to where I'm at today, and whether that be mentors, books, education courses. I've spent tens of thousands of dollars on education outside of college, right? And I need to spend more. So that's kind of where I'm at. Yeah.
What kind of courses or programs are you looking at about buying next?
So I got off the phone. Someone tried to sell me like a $40,000 like coaching program. But it wasn't a fit. But so I think it's hard. I'm in a, this is what I was talking to the guy about on the call. Is like I'm in a mode of like seeking, right? Like I want to achieve this, right? The way is unclear, but again, I feel like what I told you earlier is still true. If I continue to just seek it, eventually the way will become clear, right? And I'll have as many conversations as possible until that point, right? But ideally, I guess right now is what I want to do is find someone who is great at partnerships. And so I actually have someone serendipitously who I met the other day. I went to my favorite restaurant and in Arcadia, California, and he was talking about like finance and like what he does for work, and I overheard him. But I ordered food to go, and my heart told me to like go and talk to the guy, but I was too scared to, right? And so I walked out. I didn't talk to him, didn't make eye contact, and headed to my truck and drove away, right? But again, my heart was like, you gotta go talk to that guy, right?
Yeah.
And so I drove around, drove right back up to him, and I rolled down my window like he was a fucking low class prostitute. And sorry, that was a little fucked up.
You're good. You're good.
But I rolled down my window.
Not like you've ever done that before.
Correct. And so I asked him what he does, and it turns out he like specialized in partnerships at like financial partnerships at like Lending Tree or something like that. And then before that, it was a different company, right? So he already has experience integrating with like Charles Schwab or like Interactive Brokers and these places. So I'll hit him back up, and so like that will also be in terms of like people and what I plan to do moving forward, and on how all these things connect. That'd be a huge thing, and like how I plan to spend money. I'll pay him 40 grand or more before I pay this other coach, 40 grand more. So whatever sort of connects me closer to my goal, I'll put money there in that direction.
You said he's good at partnerships, so
yeah.
What does that mean specifically in terms of what you're looking for in your business?
He is much older than me and has a career in building relationships that integrate fintech companies, right? So like it's exactly what I need. So like he has negotiated deals in the past with people at these companies, right? So hopefully that makes sense. Like in tech, there's like integrations, like partnerships, and that's what he like specializes in. That's what he spent like his whole career doing.
So negotiating deals, like if you have your software and there's another company with their software, creating some integration in a way that you guys could, split the revenue somehow.
Correct. Yep.
Well, Tim, where can people find you?
Admittedly, I'm not super huge on social media, even though I talk about people, right? Or people. But you can reach me out, or you can reach out to me on Tim Yslava on basically all socials, right? On YouTube, on Instagram. I'm there. So feel free to follow me.
Awesome, man. Well, it was good to have you on the show.
Thanks, brother. It's good to be here. You have a good rest of your day. We'll stay in touch, man. I'll see you in London.